the extraordinary journey of Josip Broz, Tito, a leader who shaped history. Josip Broz Tito remains one of the most pivotal and complex figures of the 20th century. His name is synonymous with resistance, leadership, and an enduring legacy that shaped both Yugoslavia and the global stage. This video takes you on a journey through Tito's life, from his humble beginnings to his role as a global icon. Join us as we explore the life of a man whose choices left an indelible mark on modern history. Josip Broz Tito was born on May 7, 1892, in the small Croatian village of Kumrovec, then part of Austria-Hungary. He grew up in modest circumstances as the seventh of 15 children in a hard-working peasant family. Life was not easy for the Broz household, and Josip's early years were marked by rural struggles and minimal opportunities. As a teenager, Tito apprenticed as a locksmith and joined the growing industrial workforce, a path that would expose him to the labour movement and socialist ideologies. Little did the young Broz know that these early experiences would lay the foundation for his later role as a revolutionary. At the time, the seeds of political unrest across Europe were just beginning to sprout, and Tito's story became part of this larger transformation. When World War I erupted in 1914, Tito, like many young men of his generation, was swept up into military service. He joined the Austro-Hungarian army, quickly rising to the rank of sergeant. However, during his deployment in Eastern Europe, Tito's trajectory took a dramatic turn. At the Battle of Bukovina in 1915, he was wounded and later captured by Russian forces, becoming a prisoner of war. While in captivity, Tito's exposure to the Russian Revolution of 1917 was transformative. He admired the Bolsheviks' vision of proletarian rule and redistribution of power. By the time Tito was able to return to the shattered remnants of Austria-Hungary in 1920, he had found a new ideological calling: communism. Upon his return, Tito found himself in a kingdom torn by ethnic divisions and political unrest. This new state, the kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes, later renamed Yugoslavia, struggled to unite its diverse populations. Tito joined the Communist Party of Yugoslavia, CPY, and soon became involved in labour strikes, organising efforts, and anti-monarchist activities. However, his association with communist movements made him a target. Throughout the interwar period, Tito was arrested multiple times, enduring surveillance and imprisonment. These experiences, while harsh, forged his commitment to the communist cause. By the mid-1930s, after Stalin's purges weakened the CPY's leadership, Tito emerged as one of its most influential figures. World War II proved to be the defining chapter of Tito's life. When Axis powers invaded and partitioned Yugoslavia in 1941, resistance became inevitable. Under Tito's leadership, the Yugoslav partisans rose as one of the most effective guerrilla forces in occupied Europe. Tito's charisma and strategic brilliance turned the partisans into a formidable force that not only resisted the Axis, but also liberated much of Yugoslavia on their own. What set Tito apart was his ability to unite people under a single cause, despite their diverse ethnicities and religions. While the Chetniks, another resistance group, focused primarily on Serb nationalism, Tito's partisans advocated a multi-ethnic and unified Yugoslavia. His leadership during this time turned him into a national hero, and by the war's end in 1945, Tito was the undisputed figurehead of a liberated Yugoslavia. Post-war Yugoslavia was in ruins, its population ravaged by conflict, occupation, and internal division. Tito emerged as the unifying force needed to rebuild. In 1945, the monarchy was abolished, and Tito's vision of a federated socialist state became a reality. The Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia was established, a state comprising 6 republics and 2 autonomous provinces, each representing Yugoslavia's complex ethnic mosaic. Tito's government implemented sweeping reforms, including nationalising industries and introducing land redistribution policies. However, his vision extended beyond economic measures. Tito's Yugoslavia symbolised a break from the divisive past through centralised governance and a shared national identity. Despite outward successes, challenges in managing ethnic tensions and dissent simmered beneath the surface. Perhaps one of Tito's most notable achievements was his ability to defy Joseph Stalin, an act almost unthinkable in the Soviet-dominated Eastern Bloc. In 1948, Tito rejected Stalin's demands for Yugoslavia to align strictly with Soviet policies. This marked the Tito-Stalin split, an event that had profound consequences for Yugoslavia and global geopolitics. Tito's refusal to bow to Soviet influence allowed Yugoslavia to follow its own socialist path. This bold stance isolated the country from both the Soviet bloc and, to some extent, the West. However, it also allowed Tito to craft a distinct Yugoslav identity rooted in self-management socialism, which emphasized worker control over industries. Yugoslavia's unique independence earned Tito a degree of global admiration, but defying Stalin came at a price. Yugoslavia faced threats of invasion and an economic blockade, leaving Tito to navigate treacherous waters of international diplomacy. During the Cold War, as the world found itself divided between the US and the Soviet Union, Tito championed a third path. In 1961, he co-founded the non-aligned movement alongside figures like India's Jawaharlal Nehru and Egypt's Gamal Abdel Nasser. This coalition of nations sought to remain neutral in the ideological battle between the superpowers. Under Tito's leadership, Yugoslavia became an influential member of the movement, actively participating in peace initiatives and advocating for the rights of developing nations. Tito positioned Yugoslavia as a bridge between East and West, a role that bolstered its international reputation. The non-aligned movement became emblematic of Tito's global diplomatic legacy. While officially neutral, Yugoslavia's strategic geopolitical position allowed it to benefit from economic aid and trade with both blocs, proving Tito's political ingenuity. Though Tito is celebrated for his successes, his leadership was not without controversy. To maintain unity in an ethnically diverse nation, Tito relied on centralized power and an authoritative approach. Political opposition was silenced through arrests, censorship, and at times purges. Goliotok, a notorious political prison, became a dark symbol of Tito's regime. Yet Tito's personal charisma and the relative prosperity of Yugoslavia during his rule fostered a sense of unity and stability that became inseparable from his leadership. For most citizens, Tito was viewed not merely as a ruler, but as a paternal figure, affectionately referred to as the Marshal. Nonetheless, as Tito aged, the tensions within Yugoslavia's patchwork of identities began to bubble beneath the surface. Ethnic and regional grievances, long suppressed, would later erupt following his passing, leading to the disintegration of Yugoslavia. The 1970s saw the beginning of Tito's decline. While his charisma still held the nation together, his health deteriorated, and by the late 1970s, his grip on power weakened. In 1980, Tito passed away at the age of 87, leaving behind a state mourning its leader and uncertain of its future. His funeral, attended by a record number of world leaders, highlighted his global significance, yet it also underscored the fragility of the union he had held together for decades. Without Tito's central authority, the cracks in Yugoslavia's foundation widened, ultimately leading to the violent breakup of the federation in the 1990s. More than 40 years after his death, Tito remains a polarizing figure. For many, he is remembered as a unifier who brought stability to a fractured region and resisted the pressures of global superpowers. His leadership during World War II, the defiance of Stalin, and the establishment of the non-aligned movement reflect his lasting historical significance. Yet, his legacy is complicated. Critics point to his authoritarian tactics, suppression of political freedoms, and failure to address deep-seated ethnic grievances. The very system he built, reliant on his personal leadership, was unable to survive his absence. Tito's story is one of contradictions. He was a man who united and divided, resisted oppression but imposed it himself, and nurtured peace while sowing dormant conflicts. It is this complexity that makes him such a compelling subject for history enthusiasts today. Josip Broz Tito was more than just a leader. He was a symbol of a nation's resilience in the face of adversity. His decisions, for better or worse, shaped a generation and left a lasting imprint on the global stage. As we reflect on his journey, we are reminded of the fine balance between unity and division, success and failure, power and responsibility. What lessons can modern leaders draw from Tito's life? Perhaps it is the recognition that leadership, while powerful, is never infallible. In the end, Tito's legacy remains as layered and multifaceted as the history of the region he sought to unify.